Hello everyone, welcome to Irish Expert. Your dream abroad is about to take off. In this video, I'm going to talk about Ireland Dependent Visa, its requirements, eligibility, and everything you want to know about. So let's start with what is Ireland Dependent Visa. The Ireland Dependent Visa allows the dependent children and family members to join you when living in Ireland. If you are a non-EEA national or dependent or family member resident, then you may be eligible for the permission to reside in Ireland as a family dependent. To be eligible, you and your sponsor must currently live together in the one household. Now coming to the eligibility and requirements of the Ireland Dependent Visa. First, who is a family dependent? Now there are some basic requirements that have to be fulfilled to be classified as a dependent. First, you must be aged between 16 and 18. If you are under 23, then you must be partaking full-time education. Second, your sponsor should be an Irish national, or your sponsor should be the spouse of an Irish national, or your sponsor should hold stamp 1, stamp 4 or stamp 5 permission. Also, there are some specific conditions and limitations based on the stamp type and reason for issuance. Next, you must live with your sponsor full-time. Now, there are some exceptions for the temporary absence due to education or other approved reasons. And the last, your sponsor is a part of the family unit and you do not typically spend time living apart. These were only the basic requirements, and after that you will be classified as a dependent. But there are some other conditions and eligibility criteria that you have to fulfill and that you have to meet to be eligible for the dependent visa. First, applicants must possess the joint family visa to join the family members in Ireland. Now, what is the joint family visa? If you wish to come to Ireland to reside for longer than 3 months with your Irish family members, then you must be granted a long-term stay or a joint family visa in order to travel to Ireland. Second, applicants must be the dependent of family members who is the Irish citizen or the permanent resident or the holder of critical skills employment permit or the general employment permit. Third, if your family member holds a stamp 2 or stamp 3 Irish residence permission, then they do not qualify as sponsor. Next, you cannot have received a notification to deport. Next, you must have entered into Ireland legally. If you are unlawfully present in the state at the time of making an application, then your application will get refused. Next, your family member or the sponsor must be able to financially support themselves or any kind of dependents without the help of any public funds. And the last, you must be a person of good character and obey Irish laws, or in other words, you must have a clean criminal record. Now coming to the most important part of the video, that if the sponsor by supporting the dependent is studying, then they must fulfill the requirement. First, you are a researcher under hosting agreement. Second, you are a PhD student studying for an accredited doctorate in Ireland. Third, you are under a scholarship program in Ireland. And the last, you have level 8 or higher honors degree and you can provide evidence for the academic advancement. Now let's talk about the procedure to apply for the dependent visa. Now, there are so many queries of how to apply for the Ireland dependent visa. The first is you should gather required documents beforehand. Now, if you're a sponsor, then you must assume social and financial responsibilities towards your dependent. Also, application is possible online and through visa application centers. Now, there are so many challenges for non-Irish sponsors. If you are not an Irish sponsor, then obtaining the visa might be more complex for you. The joint family visa requirement. While currently in Ireland, the joint family visa is ideal, but it's not a mandatory requirement for the sponsors who is applying from outside the island. But they can join you after the successful visa approval. Now talking about the application eligibility, not everyone can apply for the dependent visa, of course. Eligibility depends upon the immigration status and the relationship with the sponsor. And the last is supporting documents. The required documents vary on the individual circumstances and you can refer to the official Irish Immigration Service website for the accurate and most correct list. Now there are two situations: if your application gets approved or if your application gets refused. If your application is approved, then you will receive a notification from Immigration Service Delivery granting you permission to remain in Ireland. Then you and your sponsor will be required to attend at the local immigration office in order to register your permission to remain in Ireland. Details will be provided with your permission letter. Second, if your application gets refused, you can apply for the review of the decision under Family Reunification Policy for up to 2 calendar months from the date of the decision. The review will take into account the information given in the initial application with the further information that you wish to have considered. The review will also be carried out by other officers who were not involved in the initial decision-making process. The process is also open to any applicant who feels that they have trumped for the review. Now, what is the duration of Ireland dependent visa? Generally, the permit lasts until the expiry date of original permit holder's visa. but with some exceptions. Now, what are the exceptions? First, not all family members qualify. Eligibility is limited to registered civil partners, de facto partners, or spouses. Also, they must meet specific cohabitation requirements. Also, the children under 18 are not required to hold individual permits. Second, expiry exceptions. While aligned with the original permit, the dependent partner or spouse permit can be issued for the shorter duration also if deemed appropriate by the Department of Enterprise, Trade and Employment (DETE). And the third, renewal. This permit is renewable but not necessarily automatically extending to 5 years. Now let's talk about long-term residence. If you have already lived on dependent visa for 5 years, then you can apply for the long-term residence. This 5-year requirement is valid to any kind of valid work permit and not only applicable to dependent or spouse or partner visa. तो क्या आपको भी चाहिए island dependent visa? आ जाओ, दिला देंगे. Like, comment and subscribe if you like the video. To let us know in the comments below if you guys have any queries or questions. Till then, stay connected to Irish Expert.